This isn't just another video about letting go. This is the release code, a psychological protocol so direct, so raw, and so revealing that if you apply it, you'll be able to detach from anyone in record time. And that's exactly what you heard. It doesn't matter how deep the bond was. It doesn't matter how long you've been stuck in that story that's bleeding you dry from the inside. It doesn't matter if every night you end up looking at their picture, wondering if it was your fault, hoping for a message that never comes. That's all going to break today, because you're not trapped by love. You're trapped by an unconscious circuit that your mind keeps repeating. Today, I'm going to tell you the exact 5 steps, one by one, each with a concrete action. Each one designed to cut the mental, emotional, and energetic chains that keep you tied down. So go ahead and hit like right now and subscribe. It's completely free for you, and it helps me out a lot. Ready? Let's go. Step 1. The declaration of emotional death. I'm going to tell you how to cut the energy supply to the past. There's a brutal truth nobody dares to tell you when you're attached to someone who no longer resonates with you, and it's this. You're not going to free yourself as long as you keep energetically feeding that bond. It doesn't matter how much you cry, how much you beg God, how many signs you look for in the universe, or how much you tell yourself you just need time. As long as you keep giving it your energy, that tie is going to stay alive, even if the other person left years ago. And this is where the first step of the code comes in. This isn't for the faint of heart. This isn't for people looking for a gentle solution. This step is an act of radical spiritual will. Emotionally declaring that bond dead, closing the cycle with energetic brutality. No, you're not killing the person. You don't wish them harm. But you are decreeing the symbolic death of everything that connection meant to your soul. It's like flipping off an invisible switch that's been left on for far too long, a wire still carrying current to a place where there's no longer light, only shadow. And every day you leave it on, it drains you a little more. You lose strength, you lose clarity, you lose self-love, and worst of all, you lose time from your life. Let me tell you a true story that illustrates this point. Mary spent an entire year repeating the same cycle with a man who didn't know what he wanted. One day he'd tell her he missed her, and the next he'd vanish. She justified everything with lines like, "It's just that he doesn't know how to love properly. He's broken, I'm patient." But deep down, she knew. She knew he wasn't going to come back with the same intensity she was hoping for. She knew she was feeding a ghost. One day, after a conversation in which he told her he loved her, but couldn't give her what she deserved, Mary didn't cry, didn't explode, didn't beg. She simply hung up the call, went to her mirror, and said, looking herself straight in the eyes, "From today on, this story is dead. We're not talking about it anymore. We're not bringing it back. We're not idealizing it. We're not mentioning it. It's buried." That day, she held her own little ceremony. She wrote a goodbye letter that she never sent, deleted every photo, every message, every digital connection. But the most important part was that she stopped talking to herself from a place of pain. Because that's the real cut. Not the one you make on WhatsApp, but the one you make in your vibration. And let me tell you this bluntly. As long as you keep remembering that person with emotion, the bond stays alive. As long as you keep mentioning them in your conversations, the bond stays alive. As long as you keep interpreting signs that make you think maybe they'll come back, you're still feeding the ghost. This first step isn't just symbolic. It has a profound psychological dimension. Carl Jung talked about how the unconscious attaches itself to archetypes, not to people. And when you don't make a firm act of closure, your unconscious keeps the archetype of that relationship alive, replaying it over and over, even if it shows up with a different face. That's why this step has to be ritualized. It's not enough just to think it, you have to act it out. You have to signal to your soul that this cycle is over. I suggest that tonight, after finishing this video, you do this. Find a place where you can be alone in silence, and write a final letter. You're not going to send it. You're going to write everything you feel, everything you wanted, everything that hurt, everything you learned. And at the end, you're going to write in big letters, "From today on, this bond is dead. Thank you for what we lived. I release you. I release myself." Then, burn that letter. No drama, no tears, no sad music, like burning an old photo that no longer represents who you are today. Do it with conviction. Do it like someone burying something that can no longer exist in this new version of you. Because just as the body goes through cycles of renewal, your soul also needs to know when it's the end. And listen very carefully to this. It's not the ending that hurts. What hurts is not putting an end to it. What hurts is leaving the door half open. What hurts is pretending you've let go, yet secretly checking their profile. That's what keeps you broken. So this first step is a declaration of power. You don't need that person to tell you, I don't love you anymore. You don't need more clarity, more words, more explanations. What you need is for your soul to hear you say, this is it. It's over. That's the code. What you don't declare dead, your energy keeps resurrecting. And when you finally make that cut, when you genuinely feel there's nothing left to look for there, something inside you is going to change. It'll feel empty at first, yes. But that emptiness isn't loneliness, it's space. Space so that you can finally come back to yourself. And right there in that space, in that silence, that feels harsh but is necessary, comes the second step of the code. How to detox emotionally from that presence that's still vibrating inside you like a drug. Stay tuned, because if the first step cut the cord, the next step will clean out everything that connection left inside you. Step 2. Detoxing from the drug of the memory. How to survive the withdrawal from their attention. I'm going to pause quickly to ask you for a favor from the heart. I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to the channel. That allows me to keep creating these heartfelt messages, and the best part is that it's totally free for you. Subscribe now, and let's keep going with the most powerful part that's coming up. So you've made the cut. You've declared that story dead. But now comes the trickiest part of the process, the withdrawal syndrome. Yes, withdrawal. Because what you're going through isn't just sadness. It's an emotional, psychological, and energetic detox, and nobody prepared you for it. Why do you think that even after cutting ties, you still feel like you miss them? Why do you think you're still thinking about that person when you wake up, while you eat, when you go to bed? Why does your body react with anxiety when you don't know anything about them anymore, even though you're no longer together? Because what you lost wasn't just a relationship. You lost the emotional supply you'd become addicted to. And just like an addict experiences physical pain when they quit a drug, you're also going through withdrawal from their attention. And this isn't just a metaphor. It's science. When you're attached to someone, your brain starts releasing chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Every interaction with that person, a message, a look, a memory, becomes a hit of pleasure, a microdose of emotional validation. So what happens when that supply gets cut off? Your system goes into crisis. You feel empty, confused, distressed. You obsess over checking whether they've texted you. You reread old conversations. You listen to songs that remind you of them. You catch yourself imagining reunions, looking for signs, dreaming what if they came back? And you don't realize that every one of those gestures is a tiny hit of the very drug you're trying to quit, an invisible relapse. But enough is enough. You have to survive that withdrawal like a spiritual warrior. And for that, this step isn't going to tell you to think positive or just give it time. Time doesn't heal what you keep poisoning every day. You need radical tactics for emotional detox. Here are 3 concrete actions you must take if you're truly serious about your liberation. 1. Total block, if necessary. Not to play tough, not to punish them, but because as long as there's an open door, your emotional addiction will look for excuses to relapse. If seeing their status updates or their last seen timestamp crushes you inside, that's not dignity, that's self-torture. Blocking isn't always resentment. Sometimes it's self-love. 2. Immediate removal of all stimuli. Photos, gifts, messages, that playlist you shared, that t-shirt they gave you, that hidden WhatsApp folder you claim doesn't affect you but still makes you bleed every time you open it. Delete it all. You can't heal in the same place where you got wounded. And as long as your environment keeps reminding you of that story, you'll keep breathing it in. 3. Immediate redirection of mental impulses. Every time that thought comes in, what if they text me? Why didn't they value me? Are they already with someone else? You have to do a brutal redirection. How? by using a mental tool I call pattern interruption plus command affirmation. It works like this. The moment the thought appears, interrupt it out loud if you can. Say stop or out. Then repeat a command affirmation that reconnects you to your truth. For example, no more emotional crumbs. My soul has closed that door. Or, my energy is worth more than this memory. What I deserve comes with peace, not anxiety. It might sound silly, but this is real neurological reprogramming. Every time you repeat it, you're rebuilding your mental architecture. You're training your mind to stop associating that person with pleasure. You're literally rewiring your brain. And yes, you're going to tremble, you're going to want to relapse, you're going to feel empty. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're cleansing yourself. The thing is, nobody ever taught you that detachment also makes you sweat, makes you hurt, makes you cry. But not because of love, rather because of detox. And listen closely to this. Attachment is the lie the soul tells itself when it's afraid of being alone. But you were not born to be emotionally dependent. You are a sacred force that can deprogram, shake itself free, and reset. You can live without that person, because what you miss isn't actually them. It's the part of yourself you lost while trying to hold on to them. And that's why the next step is so crucial. Because when you cleanse your system, you need to fill it with something bigger, brighter, and more yours. In the next step of the code, you're going to receive an intensive plan to fill the emptiness with your own power. We're not just going to avoid relapses. We're going to reprogram you so you never again go looking outside for something you can already generate inside. Step 3. The flooding of the self. The 7-day plan to fill the emptiness with your own power. You've cut the ties. You've detoxed. But now you're in that strange space, that energetic limbo where the absence of the other person echoes like a deafening silence. And this is where many people relapse. Not because the other person has come back, but because they didn't fill the emptiness. And an unoccupied emptiness inevitably gets filled again, often with the same thing. Listen carefully. Attachment doesn't disappear because you decide it should. Attachment is a psycho-emotional force that must be displaced by something stronger. If you don't displace it, it comes back. That's why this third step is neither gentle nor symbolic. It's a radical, daily, direct action plan. You're not going to wait around to feel better with time. You're going to make your energy move. You're going to flood your system with yourself. Because what you're missing right now is not that person. What you're missing is remembering who you are, reclaiming the emotional territory you gave away. And for that, I've designed a 7-day protocol. 7 days, 1 week, a before and an after. It's not magic, it's powerful. And if you do it, you'll feel an energetic shift in your body you didn't even know was possible. Here it is. Day 1. Purge your environment. Clean your physical space, not just like someone tidying up, but like someone performing an exorcism. Remove everything that connects you to that story. Photos, gifts, messages, memories, songs. Rearrange your room. Move your bed. Buy something new, even if it's just symbolic. Declare, this place is mine again. Day 2. Activate your body. Your body is the container of attachment. Today, your only mission is to move your energy with intention. Run, dance, work out, scream. Do something that makes your body feel alive without that person. Because until your body believes it, your mind won't let go. Day 3. The mirror challenge. Stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself in silence for 5 minutes. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's revealing. Then talk to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself what you've been avoiding. Tell yourself that enough is enough. Then declare, my life returns to me. Today I choose myself again. Day 4. Date yourself. Do something completely new alone. Go for coffee, visit a museum, stroll through a park, go somewhere you've never been, without company, without distractions, without external validation. Just you with yourself. The mission, make yourself interesting to yourself. Day 5. Real social reconnection. Call someone who loves you and whom you've stopped seeing. Remember there's life beyond the lost bond. Laugh, listen, talk about what you're doing, not what you're trying to overcome. Let yourself vibrate with the world again. Day 6. Forgotten passion. Pick up an activity you once loved and abandoned. Painting, writing, reading, cooking, starting a business, creating. Do it not to distract yourself from pain, but to reconnect with the person you were before you lost yourself in someone else. Day 7. Declaration of Identity. Write a letter, but this time, not to that person, but to yourself. Tell yourself who you are, what you've lived through, what you've healed, what you deserve. And at the end, write in big letters, "From today on, I belong to myself." This plan isn't a game, it's emotional emergency surgery. Because you're not sad because you lost someone. You're sad because you lost yourself in the attempt to keep someone. And this step is about returning to yourself, but not as who you were before. It's about returning as a version of you who no longer gives herself away entirely to someone who doesn't know how to hold her. Let me tell you about something Sabrina, one of our followers, experienced a few months ago. After going through a brutal breakup in which her partner left her without a single explanation, Sabrina fell into a dark hole. Nothing motivated her. Everything reminded her of him. Until she came across this plan. She followed it day by day without skipping a single step, and by the end of the week, she hadn't stopped loving him, but she had started loving herself more than she loved him. That was the breakthrough. 3 weeks later, when he texted her, it no longer hurt because she didn't need him anymore. She had come home to her own soul. And that's what I want for you. Not to heal through cheap distractions, but to rebuild yourself with brutal intention. This is the message. Attachment isn't ripped out, it's replaced with personal presence. And if you've made it this far, I want you to write this in the comments. I'm coming back to myself. That way, we'll activate this energy of inner reconquest together. Hit like, subscribe, and get ready, because the next step is going to completely transform how you see your story. The rewriting of the victim narrative. What hurts you today will soon become the trophy of your evolution. Let's move on to Step 4. Step 4. The rewriting of the victim story. Transform, "They left me," into, "I set myself free." This step changes everything. Because up until now, you've cut the ties, you've cleansed yourself, you've reconnected. But there's one thing that, if you don't transform it, will haunt you for years, the narrative you carry inside. And that narrative can either be a prison or the fuel for your transformation. Let me ask you something brutally honest. When you think about that person, what do you say to yourself inside? Do you keep repeating that they left you? That you weren't enough? That they replaced you with someone else? That they didn't value you? All those are phrases soaked in emotional victimhood. And I don't blame you. You were hurt, and it's logical that your mind has built a story where you were the injured party. But if you don't take control of that story, you'll keep living it out over and over, in your mind and in your energy. Carl Jung said, "What is not made conscious is repeated as fate." And your current emotional story is a movie you keep projecting every time you define yourself from your wound. Every time you say, "They left me, they broke me, they betrayed me," you're reinforcing that identity. And without realizing it, the vibration of your soul remains that of someone who was victimized. But here's where I give you one of the most important keys of the code. The story wasn't what happened. The story is what you chose to believe about what happened. And that can be rewritten. You're not going to deny the pain. You're not going to pretend it didn't hurt. But you are going to take control of the pen that's writing the script of your soul. Let me share a story that perfectly represents this alchemy. Lauren was betrayed by the man she thought she would marry. She discovered him in a humiliating, painful situation, and everyone around her knew about it. For weeks, she repeated one single phrase to herself. "He destroyed me. He took everything from me. He left me shattered." Until one day, a therapist said something that changed her life. What if this wasn't destruction, but redirection? At first, Lauren didn't understand, but that phrase kept resonating in her mind. She started writing in her journal every day. She began transforming phrases like, "He destroyed me," into, "He freed me from a lie I no longer wanted to live in." "He left me," into, "God took me out of a place where my soul could no longer grow." "He broke me," into, "That breakup was the beginning of my reconstruction." And that was the turning point. Because it wasn't the letter, it was the change of identity. Lauren stopped seeing herself as the abandoned woman and started vibrating as the awakened woman. She didn't forgive him right away, but she forgave herself for having denied her own truth for so long. And that's exactly what you need to do now. Take the story and rewrite it. Not to lie to yourself, but to see it from your current self, not from your wounded self. Here's an exercise that changes souls. Take a piece of paper and write the story exactly as you tell it now, with all the details, all the pain, everything you didn't understand, everything you feel you lost. Then, on another sheet, rewrite the story, but this time as if you were yourself 5 years from now, stronger, more conscious, more connected to your worth. Transform phrases like, "They replaced me with someone else," into, "That other person was merely there to remove me from a place where I no longer belonged. They ignored me," into, "Their silence was the start of my inner revolution. They left me," into, "They didn't leave me, they showed me where I no longer want to go." And at the end of this new story, write this sentence: "I was not abandoned. I was redirected by the universe toward my own power." Because the difference between a wound that festers and a wound that heals is the story you tell yourself about it. This step is the step of alchemy. This is where the victim becomes the leader, where pain turns into authority, where your story no longer weakens you, it validates you. And if you do it right, something incredible will happen. When you talk about that relationship again, you won't cry, you won't tremble, you won't feel small. Instead, you'll speak from up where you say, "Yes, that happened to me. But thanks to that, I am who I am today." And that's more than healing, that's transformation. And precisely when you reach that point, when your energy is no longer in the past, when your story is no longer a lament, we arrive at the final step, the moment when you project your new identity into a future so powerful that the past becomes insignificant. Stay with me, because the next step is the one that launches you back into the world as such a magnetic version of yourself that you've not only freed yourself from the other person, but you've claimed your destiny. Let's go to step 5. Step 5. Projecting toward a magnetic future. How to use your new energy to create a future that makes the past seem irrelevant. You've reached the final step, and it's no coincidence that you're here. Only those who are closer to their rebirth than to their ruin make it to this point. This isn't the end of the process, it's the beginning of your new life. Because if you've done all the previous steps, the radical cut, the emotional detox, the reconnection with yourself, and the rewriting of your story, then you're no longer the same person who started this video. And now the question is no longer how to let go, but rather, how do you move forward with so much power that the past no longer has any place in your vibration? Because that is the true closure of an attachment, when your future is so magnetic, so exciting, so truly yours, that the past becomes irrelevant. Listen carefully. People don't stay stuck in a memory because of love. They stay stuck because they haven't yet built a vision powerful enough to shout, "Let's go." And that's what we're going to activate now. This step isn't just inspiration. It's an energetic strategy, an emotional direction, a vibrational command that tells your soul, "I no longer look at myself from what I lost, but from what I'm creating." I'm going to give you 3 concrete actions to project your energy toward that future that's waiting for you. 1. Design your future identity with sacred detail. Don't just say, "I want to be happy." That's not a direction, that's avoidance. Write out in precise detail who you are 1 year from now. How you walk, how you think, how you speak, what boundaries you uphold, what doors you've opened, what kind of energy you radiate. Make it so real that your mind starts to recognize it as possible. 2. Anchor that vision in something visible. Create a vision board, a secret folder on your phone, a wallpaper image. What matters is that every day you see an image that represents your new era. This isn't about manifesting. It's about reminding your nervous system where it's headed. And what the body sees every day, it starts to believe. 3. Act as if you're already that version of yourself. Would your future self reply to a message from the person who broke you? Would she doubt her worth when she looks in the mirror? Would she compare herself to her ex's new partner? Then today, act like her. Do what that version of you would do. Don't wait to feel ready. Do it, and the strength will come. And if you're wondering whether this really works, I'll tell you, it doesn't just work, it transforms. Because what you're doing here isn't merely healing from someone else. what you're doing is choosing yourself so deeply that your energy stops vibrating in lack and starts vibrating in creation. And when that happens, when you start moving forward with clarity, presence, and excitement, the old falls away on its own. You don't need to forget it. You simply don't need it anymore. Let me share the story of Lauren, a woman who felt utterly empty after her partner left her without any apparent reason. She spent weeks scrolling through photos, reading horoscopes, clinging to the idea that he'd come back, until one day she asked herself this question: what version of me would allow this back into her life? And the answer was so clear that instead of searching for answers in the past, she decided to design her future. She signed up for classes in something she'd always wanted to try, but never dared. She started traveling solo. She launched an online project. And above all, she built an emotional routine where every day she moved as if she were already her best version. The result wasn't that he came back. The result was that she no longer wanted him back. Because what she built afterward was so big, so luminous, that the past no longer fit into her new universe. And that is what I want for you. Not just healing, but a reconstruction so strong, so fascinating, so magnetic, that even you look at yourself and say, thanks to that pain, I've become someone I never imagined I could be. Now listen carefully, because what comes next isn't just a simple conclusion, it's the final integration. A phrase, a vision, a truth that will make everything you've felt through these 5 steps fall into place as a single emotional realization that will mark a before and after within you. Stay with me, take a deep breath, and get ready, because the best is yet to come. If you've made it this far, you're no longer trapped. You're no longer the version of yourself who started this video begging for clarity, crying silently, or waiting for someone to come back. You're no longer waiting for a message. You're no longer reading signs. You're no longer confusing love with an emotional chain in disguise. Because today, you cut the cord yourself. You closed the cycle. You opened a new door. You don't need someone else to value you in order to have value. You don't need to be chosen in order to feel chosen. You don't need to keep looking backward when the fire you're about to ignite ahead of you is what's going to redefine who you are. Listen to me carefully. You don't let go of people. You let go of versions of yourself who no longer resonate with what you're called to do. And that is the most sacred detachment there is. So if this video has been your process, your ritual, your silent ceremony, make it real. Declare it. Activate it. Write it in the comments. I no longer belong to that past. I have chosen myself. And don't just say it for the sake of saying it. Say it because you're already vibrating it. Say it because you've already decided. Say it because something inside you has already risen up, already shaken itself free, and is already ready to walk forward as though nothing and no one could ever break you again. If this message resonated with your soul, it's time to take the next step. Subscribe now to keep raising your vibration with every new video. Give this content a like so that more souls can hear what has set you free today. Share this video with anyone you know who also needs to let go in order to heal. And of course, leave your declaration in the comments so this message becomes sealed in your energy. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.